What's happening, millennial men? How is your Saturday going? How you doing? It is 9:36 on the West Coast, Arizona time out here. I hope you're having a great Saturday. All right, so I'm going to get right into it because for the replay viewers, all right, to stick around, really watch this message. So I have a really important message to talk about today. Millennial men suffering. I just feel, I've been doing a lot of business tips, but I feel for your pain. For those of you who, you're suffering, right? You're in pain. I do too. We all do. To deny it would be to lie. And the reason I'm doing this is I saw a tweet again. It's from this same guy. There's a lot of people on Twitter who are there now and haven't been there for more than a year or so, a couple of years, and they're spouting their truths. They got a lot of good work, but a lot of it's nasty. A lot of it's negative. A lot of it's incorrect, right? So I really want to make a point today. Is if you're a dude, if you're a millennial man, and you think being vulnerable and empathizing is weak or some form of propaganda to take away your strength or your masculinity, you're completely wrong thinking that way. Because if you actually think about it, it's one of the strongest things not only a man can do, especially a man, but any human being can do, period. Is if you're vulnerable, right? Basically, it's surrendering your ego, because it's a real ego loss to show any form of weakness or any form of despair or sadness, right? It's a big hit to the ego, because the ego is this false conception of ourselves, and it is only out for itself, basically. And it really, really cares what other people think. And a lot of people talking on Twitter are talking about basically how to live from your ego, and that is the reality in the cold, dark world we live in. So you gotta live in this false self, because otherwise you're gonna get hurt, and no woman or no one's gonna want to be with you, and that's just total fucking utter bullshit. It's bullshit. What's up, Markin? How you doing, man? Thank you for everything, of course, man. Appreciate you watching. So I wanted to address this issue because I used to be psycho. I used to be, really, really kind of messed up in a toxic way, and I just want to address this issue because it's coming from someone that I've changed. I've legitimately changed. I used to have serious personality issues with my own ego, an addiction to my own ego, and behavior that was really toxic and destructive to people and myself. And a lot of that came from, just not feeling love, not being loved, or not getting the support I needed. So I know that this message is important, because when you feel alone in the world, when you feel like you're not getting the support, when you feel like, love is some too good to be true thing only in fairy tales, it's easy to succumb to evil, if that's the right word. It's easy to go into your dark side. It's easy to, deal with the pain by ignoring it and by being cruel and by being mean, right? But I urge you, don't do that, right? Don't give into that dark side that you have. That is, everyone has the light and the dark fighting within themselves, especially men. Men are more prone to give into the dark side than the women. Women are more connected to their higher selves to begin with. For whatever reason, for a lot of reasons, right? I'm not going to get into that. But empathize, right? That means being human. Empathy means simply sharing in someone's feelings, like by being in their shoes, trying to put yourself in their situation. And being vulnerable is simply admitting your weaknesses. Being vulnerable to me in a super practical way, because there's so many ways you can do it, is simply feeling what you really feel. Is feeling your true emotions, whether it's hate or anger or sadness, right? And there's a way you can outlet emotions in a positive, constructive way. If you really feel angry, you can go to the gym, you can lift, you can run. If you really feel upset about something and you feel like you can't talk it out with someone without hurting them, or you don't know how to handle yourself, go to the gym. I used to have anger all the time because I was in a messed up environment. I was in an environment that wasn't conducive. It wasn't emotionally positive. It was toxic masculine. All right, that was the approach. That's much of people's environments where I'm from in Northwest Ohio, especially a lot of the Northwest. So if that's your problem, take it out at the gym. Lift heavy weights. Get that anger out, but channel it into a positive thing, right? Channel it in a constructive way. Don't hurt people. Try not to hurt yourself. Try to get rid of it, right? So I just wanted to talk about this because I know I see men talking about topics and things, maybe never wanting to be married, or talking about how important it is to be dominant and all these things. And I agree. I mean, I don't agree with those things, but I get there's some sense where if you're a man, you want to provide, and that's your duty, and you should do that. You should be assertive. But to be aggressive, to be promiscuous, to be all these things that a lot of people are spewing on Twitter, it doesn't really equate to long-term happiness. And I just want to say that because men are more often, Alvin says he's been married, overrated. All right, I respect your opinion. I've never been married. I plan on it. But I know for a fact men are more likely to kill themselves than women are when they're not married or when they're not belonging. Like, that's the thing. Whether you get married or not, I'm not saying you should get married. Maybe it's not your path. But be a part of a community. Get involved in something that's going to make you think outside of yourself, right? The big problem is living too much in your own head and living too much for yourself. That's what causes anger and depression. That's what causes you to want to kill yourself. And I know I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts myself too for years. Never really doing something, but just feeling that hopeless despair, that black muck, that tar drawing you down, like there's no forward progress, like you can move forward in life feeling. So I've had those feelings too, but I can tell you that a lot of times it directly comes from living just so much in your ego and being so involved with yourself and not trying to help others, or not understanding that what makes you tick, what makes you happy is the things that you're not doing, is the things you're not thinking about, right? Because what's spewed out there, what it means to be happy is being rich, is being on the boat, having all the women, having the status, having the power, like the ego, all the stuff that's so temporary that is not going to last. It's not going to last in happiness. It's not going to last, period. We're all come from dust, and to dust we shall return, right? So you got to focus on your spirit, because there's this other joy kind of feeling that you can feel as a man, or any human for that matter, that you get only from living to serve other people. And I think that's one of Alvin Timms on Facebook comments. I think that's one of the main causes of veteran suicide people don't acknowledge. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a problem that, one of the political or social issues, rather, kind of, that, veterans need more help. They need more support. And all men do, because I think as a culture, men have been told improperly how to handle their emotions. And they've been misled in how to be a man, in terms of what that means to be a man. We're being completely misled, right? And I was too. And if it wasn't for having a great woman in my life, I can tell you I'd probably be, just as fucked up, if not worse, as I was a few years ago. Right? So now I think, obviously I'm always flexible to new ideas and beliefs. I'm not completely set in my ways, but I believe I'm on a much better path than I was years ago. And I know that for fact. Because my results, my outer and my inner world are a reflection of it. All right? And it's just like, I like what the Dalai Lama says. If you don't know who that is, look up Dalai Lama. It's Dalai Lama. He's like this Buddhist, I think he's a Buddhist monk leader over in India. And he's always talking about how to be happy, how to feel good, and how to live a good life, how to lead a long, healthy life. And I think that's everyone's common goals. And he's always talking about being compassionate. Being compassionate equals happiness. Not having $1 million, a billion, bazillionaire boats and cribs and bitches. And that's not what makes you happy, right? You might think it does temporarily. It might give you a buzz high. Like I was saying, there's a difference between feeling a buzz high, being drunk, getting high, doing coke, doing drugs, having sex, living by the flesh, right? There's things that will make you feel good for a moment, but then they dissipate and they're gone. And then you're left back where you were, square one. Versus the opposite, if that's an opposite, is real joy and satisfaction that comes from living to serve from your higher self. Living to serve and help other human beings on the planet. Because if you think about it, that's why we're really all here. We're not here just for ourselves. You would not exist. You and I would not exist if it were not for other people. If it were not for other human beings. If it were not for the Elon Musk, the Thomas Edisons, Nikola Teslas, the presidents, the leaders, the past, the Abraham Lincolns. We would not exist if it were not for other human beings, or at least our quality of lives would not be anywhere close to what it is if it were not for other human beings living from their higher selves to serve humanity. So I urge you to get in touch with that higher part of yourself to live to serve humanity. Don't just do the marketing to make money, the blah, 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 the status stuff, right? The cars, and I want this and I want that. What do you want for others in terms of joy and inner peace? All right, that I can tell you that's going to give you a long life of happiness. And I know guys like Dalai Lama and Brendan Burchard and some guys that have passed, like Wayne Dyer. I know Stephen Covey was really good. They had that positive leadership approach to living versus now there's kind of a lot of guys with the push, hustle, look at me status. I got to prove people wrong. Like that's going to give you motivation maybe. It's a good start, but when you're ready, go beyond it. Go beyond it. Because even the leaders with the great wealth that are there, and I'm talking about Gary Vee specifically, is that guy he doesn't think he has ego, but he definitely has ego. He has a lot of ego and separateness from me compared to those who doubt me, those who prove me wrong. That's one of his main levers of motivation still. One of his main drive. You don't want that to be your case at, 43 years old, right? And I respect the guy. He's got everything. Yeah, you'll burn out. Alvin Timms is on Facebook. Because I'm live on Periscope and Twitter too. You'll burn out super fast if that's all you do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Alvin's a guy that's got, he's got a lot of wisdom. You guys should check out his page. He's got a great story. I know he's been through hell and back. He's been through all kinds of stuff. So I think he can be a big inspiration to a lot of people, to help them, if you're in that spot, if you're feeling down, if you're suffering, if you're feeling lost and confused, you can get through it, right? That's what I'm trying to do, trying to help people, right? Because I've been there and stuff too. Maybe not as bad as a lot of people, but I've also probably been through a lot worse than most people who were in my spot where I'm from. Because I was thinking the other day in the car ride, and this is an important fact. This is a perspective, right? Maybe not a fact, but so you every path you take, every decision you have consequences. When I was 19, I decided a new way of life for myself. I was basically spoon-fed, do this, you'll be okay, work a stable job, live at home, don't have tons of bills, right? Save up money. You could do that, right? I could have taken that path and had way more money in the bank than I do now, have way more security